All right, for more on this, let's bring in David Bahnsen, founder and managing partner of the Bahnsen Group. David, thank you so much for joining us. Energy dominance, it just makes sense, right? I mean, you would think since the Carter years, we would have figured out that we should be self-sufficient and that we should be driving revenue to the Treasury by exporting this, but that seemed to escape a lot of people. How close are we, or how long is it going to take to get to the point where we can actually really, truly fulfill President Trump's mission here? We're off to a good start, but it's only the first year of his administration.
No, but he had a good head start in his first term as well, because the energy independence was really one of my favorite parts of his economic agenda in Trump 1.0. And it's something he's continued in 2.0 that I'm very supportive of. It is, as you point out, a geopolitical, a national security advantage. And it isn't just that it's more revenue to Treasury, Jason. It's more revenue to the private sector to drive growth and drive job creation. And then from my vantage point, it's environmentally better as well. I've never understood why we think China or Middle Eastern countries are going to burn cleaner fuel than we are in the U.S., where we have much more technological advancement and conscientiousness about it. It's a win-win in all categories for U.S. to be driving both natural gas and crude oil production.
Well, and one of the things we also need is we need to be able to produce electricity. And most people, they say, oh, electricity, it's super clean. Well, yeah, it is super clean, but it's fueled by natural gas, but it's also fueled by coal. And so California takes this huge increase in electricity prices, it scratches their head and says, wonder why? It's because they wanted to shut down production in Utah, where I happen to reside, of a coal producing plant. But we need that energy also to do artificial intelligence, which everybody is talking about as the future, but they take a mass amount of energy. So talk to us about AI and the concerns in the market at this point.
Well, when it comes to power demand and that particular concern, there is nobody who believes that we're going to get the electricity we need without increased natural gas, particularly with the AI need and that electricity demand. Coal isn't even going to be able to cut it. About 70% of data center power is coming from natty gas, where it's around 40% of electricity production total. And so natural gas has already replaced coal with a lot of our national electricity generation. But with data center, it's getting close to 70%. So you have to have pipelines that are moving natural gas. You have to have the production to go in and do this. All of those things are happening, but they're going to take time. And then it invites the other conversation, which is our ability to export liquefied natural gas. And this is one of the most bizarre mistakes the Biden administration made, was shutting down consideration of export LNG terminals, because that isn't something you can just put a sign on the wall and make happen. It takes years to build, and he really set us back by stopping that when it was clearly not only growth agenda, but geopolitical, to be able to leverage, as Art Laffer talked about, Russia and the overall European need.
Let me shift gears on you. We won't have time to do this justice, but I do think that artificial intelligence, it scares a lot of people. I wrote an article for foxnews.com, and basically it was, if you want to talk about one of the top 3 issues in the 2028 presidential election, it's going to be artificial intelligence. I think people are afraid about their jobs and their future and what a post-labor economy, as some of these venture capitalists talk about. Tell us about what the market's like, because young people don't know where to spend their time. Old people feel like, what's going to happen to me in my life? How real is that for the rest of America?
There's a lot of real things to discuss around AI, Jason. You're exactly right that it's going to be a major issue in 2028. I will encourage people to ignore anyone who says that there is such thing as a post-labor economy. We are not getting to a point where human beings are not going to need to work. Human beings were made by God with infinite capacity to produce. We're also made with infinite wants and needs and desires. So AI will scratch certain itches, and then it will lead to new things that we want to create and do. We've been doing this for thousands of years. It's not going to take away work, it's going to change it. And I do believe that there's a need for a policy treatment of this, a cultural understanding, an economic understanding. By the way, what I do for a living, the investors need to understand what's going on. But the idea that we are all of a sudden going to find ourselves without anything to do is categorically untrue. And this dystopian fear that is being put out there by some, I think we need to reject. But that none of that means that we shouldn't be prepared for what's in store from a policy standpoint.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to hear you debate this with Elon Musk. I really would, because I want to hear what he thinks this means, because he's the one that keeps talking about this and the universal high income. And I still don't understand exactly where he's coming from on this, but it does scare a lot of people and young people who want to, invest their time and energy and get an education in something and they don't know where to go. A lot more to talk about that, David. But David Bahnsen, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Kudlow.